Hi, I'm Grant with a video on how to set up and use a radio mic with your Canon DSLR. This is the first video of two that I'm doing on a simple setup for using radio mics with your Canon DSLR, or any video camera for that matter which has the right connections. Specifically in these two videos, I will show you how to use the radio mic to record the audio directly into your Canon DSLR. Some people prefer to use or record audio separately and then sync it in post-production, but I actually prefer, when I can, to record the audio direct into the camera, as I find this is simpler and less complicated when it comes to post-production. Why and when would you use a radio mic? Firstly, the most obvious application is when you are doing an interview with somebody, and a radio mic with its lapel mic will generally give you a better, more isolated sound of the person talking than traditional shotgun mics. Also, another reason is that when you're using a radio mic, you are not tethered to that person by any sort of audio cable. So this gives you the freedom to move away or not be right next to the subject that you're recording. I'm not sure if you have this TV show in your country, but there's a TV show here called Border Security, where it follows around airport border security guards as they get passengers coming off planes looking for contraband or fruit, etc. And I've shot a couple of shows here in Queenstown. And the first thing I do when I turn up on set or to do some filming with the border security guard is attach a radio mic. So therefore I do not have to be close to them. They can roam away, and also I can be almost hidden in some ways away from what's going on, but I can listen to the audio from the guy who I'm using or shooting with. I can use the audio and listen to what's going on, knowing when I need to be in there shooting again. So that's another classic example of a good use of a radio mic. And another good reason for a radio mic is cable freedom. Sometimes when you have big audio setups, you are, like I said before, you're tethered to your subject, or you have cables and audio cables coming in and out of your camera. Or for example, I am recording this using a mic just here out of shot, which is then cabled all the way back to the camera, so there is no movement, whereas a radio mic, you are up and away. So let's get into it, and here is what you'll need. A video camera or a Canon DSLR, which must have a mic in jack, which is right here on the Canon 70D, and you'll see it in there, and that is where you plug in your radio mic receiver to. Make sure your camera has this mic in jack, and it's not on all of them. I know it's on the Canon 70D, the 60D, the 7D and the 5D, and check your camera first. A radio mic setup, which generally comprises of a body pack transmitter, a lapel mic which is plugged into the transmitter, and then a receiver which has the audio out cable which plugs into your mic in jack. I'm using the very good Sennheiser G3 radio mic setup. This is a good and robust setup. Try and avoid very cheap radio mic setups if possible, because they can be troublesome. I'll put the links to the radio mic kits I recommend in the video's description below. Manual audio controls on your camera. This is preferable but not essential. So for this example, I've taken the body pack transmitter and I'll put the lapel mic on me, and I have attached the radio mic receiver, and I will attach the radio mic receiver to the hot shoe and plug the radio mic receiver into the mic in plug on your camera. First up, and you should only have to do this once, is set the levels on your radio mic, and I'm going to set this on the Sennheiser G3. So first of all, I will set the input level on the body pack transmitter, and what you want to do, if you can see this little bar here, when I'm talking normally as I am now with the lapel mic, you want it about just over halfway and not peaking or hitting the top, and that looks about right. On the Sennheiser, and I found on here that you go through scroll through your menu and sensitivity, and I have found -18 dBs to be about correct. And now also check the levels, which you can see here, the little level bar on my radio mic receiver, and that level looks pretty good. Not too high, it's not peaking, and it's kind of just above halfway, sort of between half and the top there. So those levels are good. On this system, I have found, on my Sennheiser G3, I have found that, just scroll through the menu to the right system, and AF out is what we want here, and I have also found that AF out set to 0 dB is about right. Now with your radio mic system all plugged in and your levels are all good, go into your camera, and we've also obviously got the radio mic plugged into our camera. Go into your sound recording menu on your camera and let's set preferably a manual recording level. Come off auto, go into manual, scroll down to wind filter attenuator and disable the attenuator because you don't want it to be auto adjusting your gain. Preferably you want to set a manual input level as low as possible, and I'm about 6 clicks in from the left there, and this is to try and override your camera's or your Canon DSLR's input audio preamps, as they are generally a bit average, so the lower the better, obviously while still getting a good level. If it's just you operating your camera and you're filming yourself, you'll generally have your LCD monitor spun around so you can see yourself or you're framing. And a good idea here is if you hit your info button, you can scroll through all the menus. And if you go into the second one, you can see, or the third one, sorry, you can see actually the audio level. So at least that way you'll be able to know that you are getting an audio level into your camera when recording. Also, it's good practice to do a quick test record. So record yourself, hit stop, hit playback, and then just have a listen to make sure your audios or your audio levels are all good, and then go to it. Things you have to watch for when using radio mics is, and the most common one is scratching or interference when the person or the interviewee is moving around. Generally clothes, and particularly some certain types of clothes, can be really noisy, so when they move you'll hear rustling and scratching, which is a bit off-putting for you as a listener. The only true way to eliminate this is by monitoring the audio, but if you're recording yourself, such as I'm doing in this situation, then you just have to basically check your audio when you've finished your recording. However, if you're the camera operator and you are recording someone else with a radio mic, there is a way to monitor the audio going into your camera, and I'll show you that in the next video, or part 2. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. I've also put a link in the video description below to my website where you can download for free a cheat sheet which outlines the radio mic systems that I would recommend, and a bullet point list of the points that we just talked about in this video. So I hope that's a help to you. Thanks very much for watching, and look out for the next video on getting radio mic audio into your Canon DSLR.